Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me from wherever in the world you are right now. My name is Micah Branch. I'm one of the retreat interns for the PARC 2025 Playwrights Retreat, and I am joined by one of this year's cohort, Bernardine Stapleton, the author of Ophelia Saves the World from Zombies. Bernardine, how are you doing?
I'm doing great here on this beautiful island of Umguk, otherwise colonially known as Newfoundland. And thank you so much, Micah, for getting up early today so that you could chat with me on a Sunday morning. I really appreciate you for doing this.
Oh, thank you so much, Bernadine. And I appreciate you so much for speaking with me. I'm so excited to talk to you about writing and your play. From I haven't fully finished the script yet, so no spoilers. But from what I have read, Ophelia Saves the World from Zombies is right up my alley content wise. I love plays that are a little bit mystical, mysterious, menacing, that both ask hard hitting questions about the world and the state of things, but maybe in a dreamier sort of way. So, would you, to start off, tell us a little bit about your script? Would you give us like a 50 words or less summary and why you think this is an important story to tell right now?
I have always been fascinated with the character of Ophelia, of course, from the Shakespearean play Hamlet. And I've also been fascinated with what would happen if pre written characters who were written to be victims, ingenues, to be powerless at the hands of men, suddenly decided to rewrite their own stories and take on their own power within that context. So that's the origin of the story. And Ophelia um, didn't always save the world from zombies, but I am fascinated with supernatural characters like yourself, zombies, ghosts, vampires, and I really wanted to bring a fun element into the storytelling that could represent other things. And no spoilers, but you probably have figured out now that my zombies are a little bit different than what one might expect. So that's a lot of fun.
I love that. My gosh. I was reading in the description, I was like, canine like and cute until they aren't. And
Until they aren't. Yeah. Canine like and cute until they aren't.
I was fascinated. So where did this story come from, Bernadine? What were the roots of it for you that inspired it?
It's funny you talk about roots because first of all, I love your name, Branch. That's a strong. That's a name that has a strong connotation in Newfoundland. Branches often we have communities that are called branches, and I'm a plant lover. I really wanted to build a world where women run the world, women self-identified or gender fluid or gender neutral, and yet everything is still all messed up. Like they still haven't got it exactly right. So I knew I wanted to create that kind of scenario. I also wanted there to be a strong supernatural element, and the characters of the zombies, or I should say the specters of the zombies, does relate to my environmental concerns. So they also represent a direct link to climate awareness and climate control. There was a very it was considered to be somewhat of an amusing story in Newfoundland a couple of years ago about an abandoned fish plant um, that had been sitting empty for years and years. And when someone went to buy it or do something with it, they discovered that there was a huge vat of toxic fish waste in the basement. And so it was so horrific, apparently, that they still are trying to figure out how they can clean it up
Wow.
responsibly. Yeah. So that became a source for my storytelling as well. I also really wanted to create a relationship between Ophelia and Hamlet, where Ophelia is much more of an equal player in that dynamic, if not the one who comes out on top at the end of the story. Um, so I really wanted to create a relationship between Ophelia and Hamlet where there's tremendous connection, and yet a tremendous insecurity, tremendous anxiety. I love my whole first scene, for example. It really is all about obsessive love. I think one of my favorite lines is, even when you're with me, I miss you because I'm thinking about when you won't be here anymore. So the whole story really builds from that kind of obsessive love, and grows from there. And there are also some older characters because, of course, for me, it's really important to honor performers and characters as we age. And I have the incredible benefit to be an aging artist right now. And I just love it, because every day you wake up alive. And I wanted to create a crone like character who is very prominent in the play, who kind of represents kind of a wisdom and an acerbic, sarcastic quality.
Mm.
And I'm also experimenting with something new, which is where the older characters have been experimenting on in unfortunate ways with cosmetic surgery in an attempt to stay young. So we'll have a bit of fun with that too, I think.
I love that. My goodness. Is this a script right now that's just in development, or is there a future end goal where like you can see it on stage at the moment?
That's a wonderful question, and I'm very lucky right now because I think I'm very close to what would be considered a good draft for sending out for consideration for production. This show has had at least one previous workshop with PARC, with Pamela Halstead, who is my dramaturg for this process. Of course, we hold our hearts because we love Pamela. Pamela for me is, a shining example of how when you find your soul mate in your dramaturg,
Mhm.
that this is a relationship that carries over years and years. And so I think the short answer to your question is I think we're very close to a finished draft.
That's so lovely. Thank you, Bernadine.
You're welcome.
Um, how has the like writing and dramaturgy process been specifically here at the retreat? What does that look like when you work with Pamela?
One of the reasons that Pamela is wonderful to work with and sometimes really, really challenging in the best way is that Pamela's a question asker. Pamela's a seeker of all things within your own world. And so Pamela has a beautiful outside eye that gives you an insight into what the audience might be thinking about or questioning. And it could be anything from a minute little detail to an overarching possibility that was there but that you haven't really explored fully yet. So my process with Pamela's questions, maybe answers, maybe not. Sometimes we decide we're going to discard these things. One of the challenges that I think every playwright at the retreat will identify with this. Sometimes you just want to put all your brilliant ideas into one script, and that's sometimes not a great idea. So Pamela's also really good at editing and helping me pull back the reins a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I was
Mm.
part yesterday of a panel discussion led by our artistic associate and one of our dramaturgs this year, Lara Lewis, on the place that dramaturgy or dramaturgy, but
Mm.
I switch between the two, plays in collective creation and devised theater. And that was really interesting too. Different
Yeah,
perspectives on that. Yeah.
yeah, I relate to that. It's a fine line. A dramaturg in Newfoundland, we will say dramaturge.
Mm.
So, like you, I do switch back and forth. A, a dramaturge can, it's like being a physician. You must first do no harm. And it's a difficult impulse, I think, because if you are very talented at the work, there could be a strong urge to say how it should be done because you can see it so clearly, but it's a delicate fine line. So it's a difficult relationship to find, and I think that's why once we find our person, we are very lucky when an organization like PARC can bring us together over and over again.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I wonder as well too, what does you as a playwright, what does your writing process look like? How do you create those stories.
So I will share with you that I'm sitting on my bed right now with my morning coffee. And this is actually where all my most of my writing begins. I wake up in the day, I wake up super early. Sometimes I sleep with the script literally. I know it's ridiculous.
Wow.
I do everything wrong. Experts will say if you want to have a good night's sleep, clear your bed, clear your brain, have a quiet, not me. I do not have a quiet space. I have a very busy space with inspirations. I listen to music. My
Mm.
best writing is so it's done as soon as I wake up because I think, Micah, I think our brains are less cluttered early in the morning. You're in a more hopeful frame of mind. The world hasn't been able to grab hold of you yet and choke all your optimism out of you. Um, so I will sit up. I have my coffee already percolating downstairs because I have rescue beagles and
Oh,
the dogs. Well, I am currently grieving the loss of one of my dogs.
mhm.
So I still say I have plural, but I sit with my dog and write and enjoy my coffee. And I think as a writer, anytime I can put myself in a place where I'm unfettered, I avoid the blank blinking cursor. I write longhand first, always. Um, I am often inspired by other brilliant writers. I won't read other plays when I'm working on a play, but I definitely will read poetry. Natalie Meisner, who's also a playwright in residence this year, is one of my favorite poets, for example. Or
Oh,
I will just go grab a favorite book or some favorite poems, and I'll just pull inspiration from there. Yeah.
that's so lovely. I would love to hear a bit more about who or what inspires you as a writer, either the playwrights who serve as inspirations for you, or like even themes in your writing that you keep coming back to.
I definitely think that, well, for example, Cole Haley is a playwright here in Newfoundland and Labrador right now. I just saw a play of his over the weekend. I think when I see people who are emerging and finding their voice like that, it gives me a lot of inspiration. I'm definitely fascinated by folklore, superstitions. I think if I think of most of my plays, there's an element of either science fiction, some kind of supernatural or folkloric context, such as I've written a lot about selkies, ghosts, now zombies. Creating my own zombie world is really, really interesting. Um, I saw a really beautiful film last week called Sinners,
Hmm. Yeah.
which sort of breaks the mold on everything. Like it just sort of, I loved how it was everything you want in a story: dramatic, fun, beautiful storytelling, character building, and yet had a bunch of vampires in there. Um, so anything that sort of challenges stereotypical thinking, I think I will definitely glom onto. I find inspiration in nature. I happen to live near the ocean.
Oh,
And so you can often find me sitting by the water, staring at the sea and listening to the birds and wondering about nature and looking at the sky. I think the world is our best and most blessed storyteller, if I may say that. And so I will take shamelessly from nature, Mother Nature.
who is ever generous. That's very beautiful. I
Ever generous. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I worked 3 years ago now. I think I spent a summer working in the Bay of Fundy here in New Brunswick, and that's where the Atlantic Ocean comes in. You could see Nova Scotia on the other side. I worked at Cape Enrage, which is a really fun cape that jets out into the sea, and it creates the craziest weather. It was called Cap Enragé by the French for the enraged waters, the turbulent waters that got drawn in. And 4 days out of every week, it was like enveloped by the thickest fog you had ever seen. And it was beautiful. It was so remote. There was no Wi-Fi. I had to do a job interview, and I made everyone else get off of Netflix just so I had connection. But you felt like the only person in the world, which was both very isolating, but also really, really, really beautiful. And that environment has stuck with me forever and influenced everything that came after.
I know this feeling. Isn't it profound?
Yeah.
And then often it can be hard, it can be difficult to cope with the real world after that. It's because those moments and being in those environments give us such moments of clarity about what's really important,
Mhm.
what we really need. And then, like you said, then just being off the grid. It's really important. I do find that hard to do. Listen, I'm going to confess right now, I have a TikTok obsession.
Hmm. Well, we all have our vices.
All those things. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm very happy to see that despite the like attention grabbing nature of social media, that you are still working very hard on your story. I am so looking forward to our reading this upcoming week. Is there anything else, Bernadine, you feel like you would like to share with the world, either about your story or the nature of storytelling, or young folks who might be looking forward to being in your shoes one day but don't know what to do?
I would say, oh my goodness, I love this question so much. And I want to thank you for this because I was actually journaling this morning and thinking about when I was younger and when everything was a possibility and everything had so much potential. I would say, please try to hold on to your own self as much as you can in a world that demands conformity and intimidation. My best and most profound advice will be to know within the stillest of your heart and soul that you are the worthiest creator there is in the universe, and no one else is ever going to be exactly like you. You are going to come into your own time. And if you write that down and put it on a little piece of paper and think about it, it will serve you well.
That's beautiful, Bernadine. Thank you so much for sharing.
I want to wish everybody on this day, not just mothers, but dramaturgs who are mothering insecure playwrights, interns who are mothering people who have gallivanted in from all sorts. I want to wish you all just a beautiful day. And I can't wait for my reading, Micah. And thank you for promising me that you are going to be there because that means a lot to me.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. Thank you so much, Bernadine. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, friend.